Hi everyone, welcome back to Cheese and Turtles. My name's Imogen and today I'm sharing some thoughts on death. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to do that. Give this video a thumbs up, follow me on Instagram and let's get started. Now, I'm a productivity channel. Why the hell am I talking about death? Well, death is actually very important to put your life plan into perspective, and reflecting on your own mortality, while it might not be something that you're comfortable with or something that you really want to do, it's actually an invaluable tool for helping you get clarity on what you want in life, and it really is a good motivator for working on your goals. I cannot lie, like I'm only in my early 20s, but nevertheless, the idea that I am mortal and that I will die one day is very motivating to kind of push me to work on my goals and push me to achieve the things that I want to achieve so I don't have any regrets at the end of my life. Okay, so I have some thoughts on death, and these are miscellaneous, various productivity related and lifestyle related thoughts, and I hope they will help you. Vaguely philosophical. This is kind of a random video, but one that I really wanted to make because sometimes I make these videos and you guys really resonate with them, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about it. And I do also want to warn you that there will be a couple of mentions of like mental health and suicide related topics in this video. I'll warn you again when I come up on them, but just so you can make an informed decision about like which bits to watch if that's kind of a trigger for you, because always I want to make sure that your kind of like mental health comes first when you're watching these videos. So let's get started. What do I think about death? First and foremost, like I mentioned in the intro a little bit, death is a good, well, I've written good in my notes, but actually it's a fantastic motivator for working on goals. If you think about it, we are all going to come to the end of our lives one day, and while some of us might have like not the like best idea of when that's going to be, like you can never know exactly when you're going to die, right? But we know that we're going to die one day. Like that is kind of inevitable, and when you think about that, some people are scared of it, and I'm not, and I'll explain why later in the video, but some people are scared of it, and that sort of healthy, not fear exactly, but healthy suspicion of the unknown and suspicion of death and the idea of mortality is a fantastic motivator for working on your goals, because really, today is all we have, okay? And if you keep putting your goals off until tomorrow, one day you're going to run out of tomorrows. And your number of tomorrows is actually very finite. And also the number of tomorrows that you have is unknown as well, okay? So you are not guaranteed an infinite number of tomorrows. Nobody is. So it's a really good motivator for working on your goals, because one day, I'll do that tomorrow, will not work anymore, okay? So if you keep putting your goals off until tomorrow, you're going to run out of tomorrows, I promise. Everybody is going to run out of tomorrows. So why not start working on your goals today? Number two, let's talk about the afterlife. So, I was raised religious, Catholic specifically, and obviously Catholics believe, if you're not familiar with the Catholic ecosystem, belief system, well, close enough. Catholics believe in an afterlife, and most religious people, to one or extent or another, do. Now, I am no longer Catholic. I no longer identify as religious. I would say that I'm agnostic in the sense that I don't really know if there is a deity or a God or not. I'm not definitively saying that there is no God, so I wouldn't classify myself as an atheist. I would say I don't know. But I don't practice any religion specifically. I don't go to church. I don't have any particular like religious values that I base my values and moral system on. My value and moral system was developed kind of through trial and error by myself in observing how I would want to be treated and how other people deserve to be treated as well. So it was kind of like put together by me, and I've made other videos about like my philosophy of life, my belief system, so if you're interested in those, go and check those out because they were fun to make and also I think quite fun to watch. So I actually don't know if there's life after death. Is there life after death? I don't know, and I'm sure that a lot of you watching this will have like very different views. I'm sure some of you will be like atheists being like, no, there's nothing after death, and some of you might be religious and be like, yes, there's life after death and this specifically is what it's going to be like. So there's a very wide variety of views about like a potential afterlife, about life after death, and that's cool, but I don't care, okay? So if I entirely cease to exist, that's fine by me. I mean, that was the way before I was born and I was very cool with that. I mean, I didn't know nothing about it, so like I didn't know anything about it, so why should I care? And if there is an afterlife, then that's also cool with me, okay? You know, either of those would be fine with me. So that is kind of like a state of mental peace which taken me a while to achieve, like acceptance. Like I really don't care, you know, if there is an afterlife, and if you have what you might term an immortal soul, like, I really don't care. And if there isn't an afterlife, the idea of completely disappearing does not faze me at all. Like, either of those I would be perfectly content with. So it's not something that bothers me, and it's not something that keeps me up at night. It's not something that I worry about, which is kind of fun to say because it's something that I used to worry about a lot and I really don't anymore. Okay, and that leads me on to my next point, which is that I'm not scared anymore. So like I said, I used to worry a lot about this, but I've almost died a bunch of times. I have attempted suicide twice because my mental health is very bad, or was very bad. Guys, I'm a lot better now. I have been through so much like therapy and I'm on meds and I've improved my mental health so much. Okay, I've almost died a bunch of times, and not just the suicide attempts, but like accidents as well. Like, I was extremely accident prone as a child, and there were a couple of accidents which I very narrowly escaped significant damage and or risk of death. So to be fair, those were mostly my fault because I was kind of a clumsy child, and I'm also kind of a clumsy adult, and I've also had like a couple of health scares as an adult which have almost finished me off. One of them in particular landed me in hospital for a few days, which wasn't great, but I've almost died a bunch of times. And yeah, I get worried about health problems, but it's more in the sense of my life right now makes me so happy that I wouldn't want to miss out on what the future has to offer. It's not that I'm scared of death itself. I'm not scared of death. I'm not scared of dying. I mean, it might hurt, which I don't totally vibe with. Like, I wouldn't like my death to be painful or anything, but I'm not scared of the idea of dying. I'm not scared of being dead. Like I said, I'm not scared of like a potential afterlife. And, you know, I hear some of you saying like, you know, maybe some of you are religious and you're like, oh, there's a heaven and there's a hell. Okay, how can you guarantee that, you know, if there's a heaven that you're going to go there, and if there's a hell that you're not going to go there? Like, aren't you scared of going to hell? This is a really good question, and I acknowledge that maybe it is the case that there is God and there is a heaven and there is a hell, and a lot of religions believe in that. Even if it's not the traditional like Christian heaven and hell, there's a lot of like beliefs around karma, like good and bad karma, and sort of beliefs that bad people end up in one place and good people end up in another, and you know, if you don't follow the right religion, then you're going to end up in the bad place by default, and that's going to be forever, and you're going to be very, very miserable for like the rest of like eternity. So why am I not scared of that? Okay, I kind of really don't care whether I go to hell. And now, this might sound flippant, but hear me out. So I was raised Catholic, and the fear of hell was very much like drummed into me, and it was probably one of the ways that, I mean, there were a lot of reasons for my anxiety, the onset of my anxiety disorder, but it was definitely up there. And I was scared of hell, and I thought, one day I woke up and I thought, this is silly, because I was spending so much time trying to like be the perfect Catholic, like the perfect Christian, and I was like, you know what, this is stressing me out so much, and it's giving me an actual mental health condition. Like, it's making me suicidal, and I'm pretty sure that a loving God would not want me to stress out so much about this. And that literally changed my mindset. Okay, so if God is genuinely a loving God, he will, or they will, or it will, or she will accept anybody who's trying to do their best, and anybody who's trying to make the world a better place and be a good human being. Okay, so it's not about following an arbitrary set of rules. And if God exists, and if God is all about following an arbitrary set of rules, and somebody doesn't follow those rules, and God is like a super petty dude or whatever, a super petty entity, and is like, you didn't follow my list of made up rules, I'm sending you to hell, why would I worship that kind of a God? That kind of a God sounds like not a vibe. And if I had to spend eternity in a heaven with a God who is so petty that they would send a well-meaning yet imperfect person to hell, I don't want to be with that person. Like, I don't want to be with that entity, okay? So in that scenario, it doesn't bother me, because honestly, in that scenario, heaven doesn't sound that good, because you'd have to spend eternity around like worshipping this entity that you didn't like, that you genuinely like, that my moral values don't align with that. I'm sorry. And that's why I'm not scared of going to hell, because if there is truly an all-loving God, then I am trying to be the best human being that I can be, and that I will like, obviously those efforts will be accepted. I will go to heaven if there is a heaven. And if God is like super petty and I didn't follow all the rules to the letter and decides to dump me in hell, then I don't want to be around that God anyway. So it doesn't bother me. Like, it genuinely doesn't bother me. I'm doing my best. I'm not following some like very arbitrary set of rules. doesn't bother me. It literally doesn't. I could not give less of a fuck. Like, the only reason I'm thinking about it right now is because I'm making a video on it, and I actually haven't thought about this for like ages. I don't remember the last time I thought about this. It doesn't cross my mind on a regular basis at all. All right, the next thing that I have to talk about in terms of death is that once you see death as a part of nature and as part of a wider process, it really helps. So something that I have found immensely fulfilling from a spiritual perspective is just spending time in nature and seeing the way that the seasons change and seeing the way that, you know, once death is a part of life, okay? Death provides the nutrients for new growth and new life, and seeing the leaves fall off the trees in the autumn and they rot down and then they become part of the soil, and then in the spring the plants grow from the soil, and they are just part of the circle of life and regrowth and regeneration. And the fact that when I die, you know, if my consciousness completely disappears, nevertheless my body will kind of disintegrate and become part of that like natural cycle, that natural process, and I will contribute to the generation of new life. And that makes me feel so happy, and it makes me feel so at peace to know that I am just a part of the natural process, and that ultimately I'm just going to contribute to supporting and perpetuating nature, which is something that's given me so much joy and fulfillment over time. So that ultimate purpose, like, I find joy in the idea that my death will contribute something positive to the world eventually, when it's a part of the natural process, you know? So I just think that seeing yourself as just part of nature is really, really helpful, and it can reframe death for you in a really positive light, because it's just part of the process, okay? It's just part of the cycle. It happens to everyone, and it's not a bad thing. You're contributing something really positive. And I'm not saying this like you should hurry up and die, like, no way. I'm just saying that when it comes along in the sort of like natural time frame, something good is going to come out of it ultimately. So I think that's really healing for me personally to think about. Also, death, the idea of death and my own mortality motivates me to stay healthy so I can live my life to the full for as long as possible. I love living, and I love life, and I love being conscious, and I love having the opportunity to, you know, connect with people and go to concerts and, you know, travel and see the world and experience life as a human being. And I feel like that is a massive gift, and I am really grateful to the universe or whatever, you know, like conspired to allow me to live this life. And a lot of it is my own effort, sure, but, you know, a lot of stuff came together so that I could be here, and I am very, like, I don't take that for granted. So it definitely motivates me to stay healthy so I can complete my goals and have as long and healthy and happy of a life as possible. All right, I hope that was helpful and maybe it reframed some of your thoughts on death. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please keep it civil. I know there's a lot of different opinions on this topic. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to do that. Give this video a thumbs up. Follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video. I do want you to remember, though, that, you know, death is not something to be sought, but it's not something to be resisted either, okay? It's part of the natural order, and don't be scared of it. It's not a bad thing, but also don't go after it, because life is beautiful and life is worth living, and you will do good as you are alive, and ultimately when it's your time to not be here anymore, you will do good through that as well, okay? So that is the end of this video. I hope that helped you find some renewed joy in life, and if you're worried about death, I hope this will stop you from staying up at night worrying about it anymore, because there's nothing to worry about. It's fine, and it always will be. All right, that's really the end of this video. I'll see you soon. Bye!